Okay, I think it's 4 o'clock now. I know there are more people. They are on the road. They will join us very soon, but because we have a very packed agenda, so we'll get started on time. And for those who came to our previous sessions, application essentials, resume, CV, cover letter is the part 6 of our foundational workshop series. Today we have a really, really packed agenda, so I hope every one of you will be very engaged with us. And as I told some of you before, you are part of the change. You are part of the success for this workshop. So I want everybody here to participate. First, I would like you to check in using this QR code. And this should be a very quick process. This allows us to track who attended our workshop. And this way we can report it to our leadership to see, to hopefully secure more resources to support you. So again, you are part of the change.
We also have paper copies going like on the tables if you want to pass them around if anyone has trouble with the.
Yeah, and we'll follow up with you and share with you the slide deck. Okay, great. Thank you. So before we share our agenda and everything, I just want to open with this question. Again, I want everybody to participate. And if you could quickly share, what are your biggest challenges when it comes to write your resume, CV, and cover letter? If you can share very briefly, that would be awesome.
I think for me, it's like tailoring it to each position, like figuring out what to highlight and what to exclude. So.
Excellent. Tailoring and what to highlight. What else?
We got like multiple skills and we have to elaborate within like a short.
Yeah, multiple skills and how to filter, how to highlight in a very concise way. Yeah. What else? Yeah, academia, industry, they are looking for different things and require different formats as well. One more.
Having my research background and my professional background in one document is always a little difficult.
Yeah, research experience and also other professional experience, how to combine them in the resume or CV or cover letter. Great. Those are all very common, very real challenges. So with that in mind, this is how we design today's workshop. We hope you are able to achieve first, understand the employer's perspective, their mindset. This is very important. We often write our application materials from our own perspective. What do I have? What I did. But very importantly, I want you to understand what is employer's mindset and perspective. Second is how to describe all kinds of experience, as you just mentioned. And then in the longer run, how to identify skills so that you can continue to grow in your career, no matter whether you just started your PhD or postdoc or you are almost finishing, because this is a iterative process. So with that, this is our agenda. We finished our welcoming. I'm going to briefly talk about the nature for hiring, understand employer's perspective. And then Kyle and I will take turns to talk about how to write a CV, how to write a resume, how to write a cover letter. And then we'll talk about strategies to build a better application material and a better career. And in the end, we're going to have Q&A and wrap up. So first, the nature of hiring. And this is so important because I came from China. There is a very famous Chinese saying, and I think it's famous worldwide, is knowing your enemy and know yourself. 100 battles, you will never prevail. And translated is, if you know your hiring manager, and you know yourself in 100 application, I cannot say you will never prevail, but I can say you will have much higher success rate. So that's what we are going to do. As much as we know, it's very difficult for us to find a job. At the same time, from a hiring manager perspective, it is very hard for them to find a good candidate. So it is a big investment to them and is a big risk management project for them. Because we know hiring just takes a lot of time, a couple of weeks sometimes, at least many, many hours. They pay recruiter a lot of money, especially they are working with an external recruiter. And many team members will participate in the screening and interview process. So it's a huge project. So they are very interested to find a good candidate. And also managers doing the hiring process on top of their daily job. So that means they are very busy. If you follow up with them and didn't hear back from them, that's kind of the normal. So you have to show persistent follow-up. That's a very important mindset to have here as well. And also a bad hire is going to be very bad for the team. So referral is very important. If they know somebody directly, or at least know the refer, kind of the common person, they will have more confidence to hire that people. That suggests to us is a little more networking is really necessary in the job search process. Third, lastly here is they are going to receive a lot of applications. So they probably only spend a few seconds, maximum like 30 seconds on your application materials. So that means you have to make yourself stand out immediately to the hiring manager so that they can keep reading your resume and other application materials. So what are they actually looking for? First, there has to be like clear match between your skills and their needs. We know our skills, but sometimes we do not necessarily know their needs, and that require significant amount of time to do research. And we'll talk more about that, how to decode a job, how to understand their needs so that we can highlight the relevant skills. And also, they are not only interested to know what you did. A lot of people show that. More importantly, they want to know you can solve problems and you can deliver results. So highlight more why you do that and what is the outcome for your actions. Okay? And also, they don't want you to list all of your experience in your resume or CV. Only provide the relevant information. They have no time or interest to find the signal among all of the noises. You want to present yourself very clear and concisely in front of them. And also they want to see this person is able to communicate clearly and concisely through your application materials. Again, this is a very important skill they can tell. And of course, this becomes more obvious later in the interview stage. Also, they want to make sure not only you have all the technical skills, you are a person with good personality, with good soft skills, and you have to somehow reflect all that through your written application materials. And that's the challenge, but that's a must. Lastly, is they want to see you are not only an individual contributor, a good worker. They want to see you have potential to grow, to contribute, to adapt, and to collaborate, because they are not only hiring a team member, they are hiring a talent for the company so that this person can continue to grow and help the company to grow or help the organization to grow in general. So what are some of the skills they are looking for? If you come to some of our previous workshop, such as articulate your skills, I kind of mentioned some of those points before, so I'll make it very quick here. A skill is really your ability to do something well, and it can be largely divided into 3 buckets. One is your technical skills. Another is transferable, like project skills. You are able to work with things, with projects. The third is your personal soft skills. You're able to work well with people. And technical skills, depending on which field you are from, you know this very well, so I'm not going to highlight that much. But for transferable skills, here just listed a few: analytical thinking, problem solving, project management, which is a skill we often have, but we don't know how to highlight, written communication, oral communication, learning agility and adaptability. And for interpersonal soft skills, we need to really highlight teamwork skill, collaboration skill, mentorship, emotional intelligence. You can read the room, you can handle the conflict, things like that. Your leadership skills and your self-awareness. You know what you want. Even sometimes your limitations or boundaries. And here listed some more skills, transferable skills and interpersonal skills. I'm not going to read them one by one. I'm going to share the slide deck with you, but just let you know there are a ton of different skills they are looking for, and we want to make it so clear in our application materials. So in summary here, a resume, CV, or cover letter is really not just a record to describe what I have, what I did. It's really an argument, a case to explain why you are the best candidate for this job. So with that in mind, I want us to have 2 to 3 minutes reflection time. If you already brought your resume draft or CV draft, you can just look at yours. If you don't have a draft, you can just think, what are some of the top characteristics you want the hiring manager to know immediately about you? And then think, if you are the hiring manager, are you able to see that very clearly and quickly from your application material? And I'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes to reflect, and I want to hear some of the response from you. Anyone of you want to share very briefly here? Yes, please.
Here.
Excellent. Yeah. Again, everyone is different, right? You need to think, what are some of the things you want to highlight? And that could also be different, depending on the opportunities you're applying to. Great. One more?
I think things.
Yes.
When like for a few characteristics, first thing like jump to me is like passion, enthusiastic, like time management skills such as, but I think I heard like definitely like well experienced, lab experience definitely is more valuable. So I'm just curious, like at this content, what type of like characteristic would you recommend as to express? Because I'm sure people have different characteristics.
Yes. Yeah. So here you want to think more about skills. You can contribute to the job. And your passion is very important. But that is kind of the dressing for the salad. And you can indicate that in your, later we'll see, like, for example, professional summary or cover letter. Yeah. Because people sometimes, yeah, it's very rare they hire directly for passion. They want to hire for your skills, and then on top of that, your passion.
I actually have a follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
So, with characteristics, one of the things I would like to highlight is like leadership or initiative skill, but it's like the technical skills are really easy at a glance to see because you can just have like a technical skill summary or just like your experience. But like, how do you highlight that quickly, like at a glance? Someone can look at it and be like, oh, they have leadership experience. Like, well, what are your recommendations to really bring that to the forefront?
Excellent. We'll discuss that later on, but I'm glad to hear that you know the things we want to highlight does not only include technical skills. We can highlight other things that are true for us and we are very good at, and we want other people to know. And leadership is one of them. And you know, as a backup evidence later, we can see, for example, in CV or resume, we can show evidence what type of projects we have worked on, what is the impact, things like that, to back up your statement. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So I love all of the comments here, and we'll touch more on those in the later session. And now we'll move forward. We will talk about how to write a resume and CV. And most of you already have a CV. You are very familiar with that. So we'll start with that just to reiterate some of the key points. And Kyle, would you help us to kick off that? And before that, just want to briefly mention, you know, CV is really everything, very comprehensive, don't have any page limit, but resume is really tailored, concise, 1 page or maximum like 2 page. Yeah, so very kind of very different, and they are also for different purpose. Resume is more for industry, and CV is more for academia. So now, Kyle, please.
So we're just going to go kind of briefly over the primary sections that you're most likely to include in your CV. So CV almost always starts with the education, right? You're going to put your degree, especially your dissertation title and your advisor. You'll also have like your undergrad degree and date, majors, minors. If you did an undergraduate thesis, you put them. If you got a master's along the way or multiple masters, you can put those as well. But just an overview of the education. You might have then your research interests. So that could be 1 to 2 lines that gives an idea of your current and future directions and should be tailored towards whatever job posting that you are applying to. This does not necessarily need to be like full sentences. I've seen a lot of resumes that use keywords, like something that you might see in the search terms of your academic articles or papers. You will then list your research experience and where you're at right now. You will most often put like your postdoctoral experience, your thesis dissertation experience. If you were a research assistant on some projects during your time in grad school or before, and any other like research experiences that are relevant towards the field that you're going into. So if, for example, you worked for as a research assistant full time for a couple of years after college, or if you were an undergraduate research assistant, those kinds of things are relevant to be able to put in there. Then typically you'll do your publications, which you should list as citations using whatever your field's format is. Then teaching experience, and this can encompass a lot of different things. So there's ones where you're the instructor of record, where you're the teaching assistant, even ones where you're a discussion leader or a lab instructor. And it could also encompass tutoring and mentoring. So if you've mentored, other students in laboratory settings, that is something that you can put into a teaching section as well. From there, presentations, very common. Again, this should be put in your field's citation format. So APA, MLA, Chicago, et cetera, et cetera. You can also put professional development. So if you have done training or workshops or non-credit courses, things that are kind of outside of your regular degree, but that show off your skills, this is something you can put. So, for example, in some of the quantitative social sciences, people will often attend like boot camps on statistics softwares, and you can put that in there. Just anything that kind of shows off, again, relevant skill sets. You also want to have your grants, awards, honors, and certificates, not necessarily always in the same section. It just kind of depends on, one, how many you have, and two, what kind of job you're applying for. It's generally a good idea to include the amounts that you were awarded, especially for grants. When you're applying for postdoc and faculty jobs, academic jobs, being able to demonstrate not just that you can get grants, but the amounts that you have received before shows off your potential for earning future grants. Then we have service activities, and the focus here is going to be like academic service activities primarily. So we're thinking like departmental committees, campus work groups, maybe some graduate student leadership positions that you were in. Definitely things that are more appropriate. You want to think about like what kind of work might you do as a faculty member on the service side, and what have you already done that can kind of show that off. Some other CV section headings that are more or less common. You might include your working papers. And this is especially if you are a bit earlier or if you don't have as many publications. A working paper can show that you are developing a research agenda, especially if a paper has already been submitted or is under review by a journal. I've seen plenty of people do this. Memberships and affiliations tend to be good. So professional organizations that you are members of, any kind of scholarly societies, things like that. For some of you, you might want to put non-academic publications, especially again, if you're in maybe more of the more social sciences or humanities side of things. So that could be things like news articles, op-eds, policy briefs, or even creative writing. Again, depending very much on the field. Some miscellaneous sections that will sometimes get included are languages, your language proficiencies. You might have like a technical skills section. So for example, your computer software proficiencies, all the laboratory techniques that you know, things kind of like that. Sometimes you might have relevant certifications that you would want to put on here. That's especially true for more health-related kinds of fields, like clinical psychology, for example. You have to be certified in order to practice as a clinical psychologist. So if you have some sort of certification that shows your ability to do the work that you want to do, and potentially outreach, and this is more like the volunteering kind of thing, community volunteering work that you might do. That is also something that people might include on their CVs. Now, some important differences, and this is kind of more how customization works on the CV side. Because you're not necessarily changing the description or the information itself radically, uh, the thing that you do to kind of customize a CV for different types of academic jobs is to basically reorder things a little bit. So, for example, if you're applying for a more research-focused position, a tenure track position at a very research-heavy university, then you're probably going to want to have things like your publications, your presentations, and your grants pretty high up on the CV so that it's one of the first things that people see. Whereas if you're applying for like a more of a teaching position, a teaching college, then you might want to emphasize the courses that you've taught, workshops that you've conducted, the curriculum you've developed, and those kinds of pieces before you get into your publications and scholarship. And then occasionally, industry may ask for an academic style CV because sometimes they know that that's a little easier for students to prepare. And in those cases, you really want to focus not even necessarily on publications, but on lab experience, on projects, research projects themselves, and especially on like collaborative work that you've done, be with other people in your lab, with other labs on campus, or even with outside industry partners. All kind of makes sense? So here's kind of a sample. It's probably going to be a little difficult to see, but this just shows off a little bit of how, you might lay this out. So like we said, we got education up here. We have the research interests, which is a very kind of brief explanation of what is involved. We've got a section on the research experience. We see that there's graduate research assistant and then undergraduate consultant. Teaching experience. This includes graduate mentorship and teaching assistant. Have that continued. Honors and awards, grants, publications, conference presentations, professional experience. So this person worked outside of academia in a non-research position, so they've listed this as professional experience. And then university service. And in that particular, they were a facilitator for a program, and they were an office assistant for their program. So these are some of the things that might be highlighted. Based off of this, you might think that this could be kind of a balanced one, but maybe leaning a little more towards teaching because teaching experience has been put ahead of publications. That's what I would kind of interpret from looking at it. Questions on that?
Yeah, but one or two quick questions, and later we have more time for
Yeah.
Q&A.
Yeah, so in the university experience section, if you worked in a university office while you were in grad school, would you consider that last section as well, or?
It depends a little bit on what exactly the work was. It's probably going to fit into like professional experience. But if it was highly relevant for whatever reason, you might kind of stick it in somewhere else, but probably professional.
Yeah. And again, this is a case, right? You want to really think how you want to package it, like what experience to include to make your case.
Yep. Keeping in mind that what gets read first is like the most important stuff.
Just curious, given like the questions, it looks like a more resume type CV to me because I feel like it explained a lot of like experiences that I'm just curious in general for CV. Should you really explain like or at least one or two sentences about your experiences or just list out your experiences, location, time, and that's it?
This has become more common lately, even though it's traditionally more of a resume kind of concept. We're seeing it more and more in academia as well, especially as people's projects get more and more varied and want to convey like more and more different kinds of skills. So I would say this is fairly appropriate. But yeah, a lot of traditional CVs, you'll just see the title and you won't see much else. That tends to happen more once you hit the actual tenure track. For postdoc applications and even for assistant professor applications, you're a little more likely to see this where you do have a little bit of explanatory detail on the experience. That's a great question.
can we add the core competencies or like our skills? Because I think it's missing this CV. Like, what
This
are the
CV,
desired skills?
this CV did not include like the skills section.
Okay.
So that's something that you can include if you wanted to put it in on here. Yep.
Great. Yeah.
If you're going to skills, is there suggestion of them?
Towards the bottom, honestly.
Mhm.
Skills almost always go towards the bottom. And that's because in academia, people know, like people in your field know what stuff involves.
Yeah.
So they can look at your publications and get a good sense of what your skill set must be based on what kinds of research you published. So you put the skills later because people can infer.
Okay, great. Again, later we have more time for Q&A. Now we're going to transition to talk about how to write a good resume. First, I'm going to share some key points here, and then I'm going to dive deeper. First, for resume, you want to really include a professional summary where you can highlight your key skills and goals. Second, you want to keep your education very brief. Just list degree, institution, and year. Keep it very concise. Again, resume is about being very concise and give the information the hiring manager is looking for. And then is that about describe your research and work and other experience in no more than 3 bulletin points. Not the more the better. If you have a lot of things you want to share, consolidate them into 3 major bulletin points. And you can use this type of formula, which we can talk more later, is to not only describe what you did, but why you do that, the task, the bigger picture, and then the result, what you have achieved. And then list all the relevant experience in reverse chronological order, and remember to tailor. We'll talk about that more in the next few slides as well. And keep it very clear, focused, only 1 page or maximum 1.5 or 2 pages, no more than 2 pages. So we're talking about the sections compared to CV, you only need to include like the relevant sections, so much fewer. And again, it's a packaging process, right? It's making a case. So you want to highlight the relevant sections. For the resume professional profile section, a professional summary, sometimes we also call that. Again, this is the hook for your resume. And you want to make the hiring manager to become interested in this part before he decided to read the rest of the part. So you put this most important part in the first, and is basically an abstract of your entire resume. And you really want to highlight your key features, key characteristics that the hiring manager won't miss. Highlight your expertise, your achievements, your impact, and tailor that to each of the role as well. And use brief phrases, not full sentence. Later on, I'm going to show you some examples. 3 to 5 partial sentences to indicate who you are, what you want. So now are 2 examples. One is a professional summary for a PhD candidate in STEM. Here, instead of just say PhD candidate, you just say PhD because you know you are about to graduate. PhD in biophysics with interdisciplinary training in molecular biology and quantitative modeling. Again, PhD keywords, biophysics keywords, molecular biology, quantitative modeling, protein dynamics, fluorescence microscopy. All of those are very much associated with you. So you want to make it so clear to the hiring manager. And then strong record in, here are some of the things I want to highlight. Independent research, cross-functional collaboration, scientific communication. Again, you can highlight others, right? So everyone is different. Some other people, you can also make it very quantitative. For example, like you had 5 collaborations, you worked on 3 papers, things like that. You can make it more quantitative. Seeking research or industry scientist roles, applying biophysical methods to biological systems. Again, you also not only tell who I am, you also tell them what you want. And this is also kind of like some template here, and you can make it true for yours. This is another example, a postdoc in HAS. You will hear us talk about it a lot. It's humanity, arts, and social science. So postdoctoral researcher in psychology and brain science with expertise in cognitive neuroscience. Again, you are very careful with the key words here based on what do you understand the hiring manager is looking for. Led and published here, it becomes very quantitative. 4 peer-researched studies. Again, all of those details. 2 research grants recognized for this. This is what I want to highlight based on my understanding about this job and seeking this type of opportunities. So those are some of the examples for you how to write your professional summary and how to highlight yourself. Remember, this is an abstract of your entire resume. And behind the professional summary usually is the work and research experience section. And there, you really need to remember how to describe your experience so that the hiring manager know your skill, including your soft skill. So here are some principles I want to share. Again, in addition to write like all of the things you have done, all of the technical names and details, methods, focus more why you do that. This is especially important for industry jobs, right? The big picture, why you do that, and then focus on the outcome. By doing this, what you have achieved, and avoid using jargon. And if you have to mention this technical name, use a general name first, and then say including this. So this way regular people can understand what you mean. And then use strong action verbs, designed, analyzed, managed, led, collaborated, and so on and so forth. And those action verbs highlight a lot your soft skills, your transferable skills. And always think from the employer's in perspective. After you write your resume, think, so what? How can I change? Is this clear to hiring manager? Again, think from the employer's manager's perspective. And here are some examples using the action, task, result structure. And I tried to think of examples, both covering STEM and HAS here. First, conducted advanced statistical analysis. This is a very specific action. So, I know this person is strong in statistics, is strong in analytics, okay? And then what is the picture? Big picture, to identify biomarkers in neurological disorders. Again, be careful in the keywords you want to include here. Make sure other people can understand. Contributing to 2 first author publications and a successful NIH grant application. The outcome of your work, be quantitative here. Led a multi-year interdisciplinary research project investigating gene-environment interaction in aging, delivering finding on time and under budget while managing a team of 3 undergraduate students. By using those words, people see your time management skill, budget management skill, your mentoring and leadership skill, and your research expertise in gene-environment interaction in aging. So really think, what are some of the keywords you're going to use? Wrote and published 3 peer-reviewed articles translating complex experimental findings for an international scientific audience, resulting in 200+ citations and invitations to present at 2 major conferences. Again, this bullet point is to highlight your communication skill or your publication, and you highlight the impact here. Designed and delivered interactive course modules on molecular biology for upper-level undergraduate students, improving exam scores by 18% and receiving average teaching evaluation of 4.8 out of 5. Again, very quantitative. It will become very obvious you are good at teaching, communication. You are good at customer service, tailoring to your audience. Facilitated weekly lab meetings and mentored junior researchers to support data quality and reproducibility, leading to streamline workflows and a 30% reduction in analysis time. Again, it's all different for you, but you do have a lot of analytical skills, research skills, management skills, all kinds of things, mentorship skills. So know how to highlight those, and also be true, right? We don't want to exaggerate that you do not feel comfortable, but you do also don't be shy here. And in terms of the ordering for resume, so usually it's just name, your contact information, and then professional profile. And unless they ask for a specific order, otherwise, again, it's a packaging process, right? It's making a case. What are the most relevant information you want the hiring manager know? And you think about it. But in general, this is what we recommend for resume. After your contact information professional summary, and then especially for fresh PhD and postdoc, it comes with your education, because where you graduate is actually very important. It says a lot about your credibility and your experience. And then is about research and work experience. And here, you know, because we don't really have that many work experience or research experience, so sometimes we combine them to make it a kind of a sufficient section. Your undergraduate research experience, your PhD research experience, postdoc research experience, plus your, for example, your internship and other part-time work experience, you can highlight them together. And then publications, presentations, including poster and talks, and honor awards, grants, and the leadership and other service opportunities here. And in terms of the skills, so Kyle mentioned the skills usually is not that important for CV. Sometimes people still have it, but for resume, here is really dependent. For example, if you're applying for a more leadership role or administrative role, then it is not that important to highlight the technical skills. And also it is dependent on the fields. For engineering or like biology fields, maybe it's more important to include the skills section. So it's really dependent. Again, think how you want to package, right? And then in terms of where you want to put the skills section is also dependent on the job opportunity. Sometimes you can put it in the very front, especially if it is a very technical role. I want to let you know I have all of those technical skills you're looking for. Then you put it basically after the professional summary. And sometimes if it is not a very technical role, you can put it toward the end of your resume. And when you think about the skills, again, no more than 3 major bulletin points. Condense them into 3 major parts. For example, you can say your lab skills, and then listed all of the relevant lab skills, and then programming skills or data skills, you can list all of them, and then other skills. So again, you can think how you want to pick those 3 buckets and what are some of the specific skills you want to include under each of the bucket. Make it relevant. So we talked about tailoring. This is a very, very important part. And part of the challenge here is we know our skills, but we do not necessarily know the job descriptions, even though the words are there. But because we do not have work experience in that area, we don't really know what it means. So that's why I really recommend you to spend some time to decode the job. You would rather apply fewer, but apply to those you are really interested and tailor it. When I applied to my current job, I probably spend at least 10 hours to decode the job description so that I can write a very specific resume and cover letter. And of course, I spend more hours during the interview preparation process. And here is you really want to identify the key responsibilities and look for some of the keywords and understand the company. So do some research about the company website and then highlight your relevant skills, especially in your professional summary section. So now we are going to do some exercise. This is my first time to do this exercise. And I want everybody to participate, even though the example I'm going to show is more like STEM. It happened to be from Alexandra, who recently came to see me for a coaching appointment. So I will use her example, but it should be applicable, kind of the philosophy and the mindset should be applicable to any students and postdocs. So for that, I'm going to pull out the job description. I know it's very small, so I also printed it out. What I want you to do is, if you could pass them around very quickly. So probably give you 5 minutes. I want you to read through the job description very quickly and then tell me what are the top 3 things the hiring manager is looking for? Yeah, don't worry about kind of the technical terms such as Western broad, things like that. Yeah, think about the big picture. Good. Yes. Yes. Can you pass it to that table? Missing one? Very good. Good? Okay. I guess with 20 people, so that's perfect. And I want you to pay attention to the recurring themes, recurring words. And I also want you to pay attention not only the technical skills, but also some of the transferable or soft skills. And it's top 3 categories of skills. Yeah, even though it might not be for your field, again, presume you are the hiring manager. To read the job description, what are some of the things this job description emphasize?
The exceptions analysis that's better.
So basically, I think this is the position related to good manufacturing,
Manufacturing analysis.
good manufacturing practices, which
Good
is GMP environment.
Mm-hmm.
And this repeatedly shows about the bioanalytical development,
Mm-hmm.
both in vitro assays.
In vitro assays,
Yeah, in vitro assays.
bioanalytical
Bioanalytical
development. Yeah, manufacturing, GLP,
GMP,
things like
good
that.
manufacturing practices.
Yeah.
And
Again, I think those are all very good. Think about the 3 top things you are going to highlight, or the top 3 things you think the hiring manager is looking for.
I was gonna say, so they clearly care for analytical methods
Mm-hmm.
in that case, but
Yeah.
they also seem to emphasize ability to like write and like communicate and also collaborate within a team.
Yeah.
So those are probably the 3 main things I would try to show on.
Yeah. Who else would like to share? So how well you can guess or you can analyze kind of determines the success here. We all see things slightly different. If what we see matches with what the hiring manager is looking for, then we are more likely to get interview and get hired. Yeah. So anybody else want to share before I share my understanding? Yeah.
They do say that it's a bench scientist role, so they want someone with strong laboratory expertise in development techniques, but also someone who can work alongside others in a multidisciplinary environment.
Yeah.
And someone who is able to use their knowledge and synthesize a new process.
So the new process. Yeah. From you, please. I know you raised your hand early. Gene therapy, right? Excellent. All those are
also includes some transferable skills like in the regulatory affairs, program management, collaboration within the team,
yeah,
leading the team,
yeah,
and clinical
regulatory.
research.
Clinical
Quality,
research.
quality assurance as well.
Yeah, quality assurance, quality control.
And managing with the patients also. Gene therapy
Mhm.
related patient, counseling, financing them.
Yeah. And that's a lot. It's hard to pick up three, right?
Yeah.
So you have to prioritize and you have to understand more. Yes, please. Yeah. 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 Yes. Soft skills is definitely needed for this position as well. Yeah, there are a lot of key words, key signals. So we need to spend time and think. And one recommendation here is first, if you know somebody from this company, talk to them. Yeah, that's why networking is important. You will understand more behind the job description. Second, nowadays with AI, if you are comfortable using AI to help you know more what this job is about. Yeah, keep asking questions, know the details. For example, what is phase 1 to commercialization? What are the different phases? Keep asking questions so that as if you're already in this job and you know what to do, you basically envisioned your workload and your responsibilities. You need to achieve that status, that stage, and then work backward to see how you are going to write your resume and cover letter. Yeah. So the way I see, so my training background is in plant biology, and I did work in industry. So it's not in gene therapy or clinical side. I only spend maybe five minutes on this job description, 5 to 10 minutes on this job description. What I see, if I apply to this job, I'm going to highlight 3 things. One is analytical essay, because I think many of you said this is repeated many times. This is my top skill I want to highlight. Second is more about process improvement. If you read carefully, I kind of highlight some of the skills here. It keeps saying that you want to improve this process, you want to monitor this process. And by reading, kind of understand the phase here, you are passing the innovative phase. So maybe some other team is developing the essay and you need to improve it. And you need to make sure it's very consistent, it's cost effective. So it's a process improvement type of skills I want to highlight. And the third here, I'm going to mention soft skills, but not a high percentage, only one, like, 1 out of the 3, because the major role for this role is technical, is a bench scientist, but it's important to have communication and collaborative skills. So that's my third point I will highlight. Even though many other parts I mentioned, like quality assurance, regulatory, many others, based on my belief here, I think that becomes a minor role. So again, this is really about your belief, your understanding, and what you understand what they are looking for, and also those skills you happen to have. Some skills you think is very important, but you do not have. It's hard to highlight as well. Yeah. So you want to find the overlapping region. Okay, so now with that in mind, again, in future, you always ask yourself, what are the top 3 things they are looking for? I'm going to give you an example. Thanks, Alexandra, for sharing your example. I want you to comment what is good and what needs to improve. And again, you can look at the screen or you can look at the resume, printed resume here. Again, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, but if you already find something you want to share, we can start as early as you can.
Is this for the same?
Yes. Yeah. So I think this is a work in progress. She hasn't really tailored it yet, but maybe she has done a little bit of that. So no, not yet. So we can think, what are some of the things she is doing well? What are some of the things she needs to improve? And for your own resume, you always ask yourself this question. Anybody want to share? First, what are some of the things that have been done well? Yes.
I was gonna say, I think they highlighted their technical expertise really well, like the way they broke it down in different segments and the relevant skills within each segment. Was well done.
Yeah.
Even the professional summary also is very short, but it covers the entire
Yeah.
management.
Yeah. Technical expertise is written very well. Professional summary is pretty good. Who else? One more.
It doesn't have anything like conference presentation or that part.
Yeah, low conference and presentation. And part of the thing is because it's already 1.5 page. So we talked about strategy, how to highlight those and shrink some other sections so that it's not too much, but you still have all the relevant sections. And one of the strategy here is, for example, publications. You can see selected publications, 3 out of 7, something like that, to make more space. Yeah. Yeah.
So in thinking about the 3 categories of you mentioned in the job posting, I think the technical essay part and the soft skills part are covered, but I'm not sure if I'm seeing a lot of the process improvement part.
Yeah. And again, that is my belief, right? So if you believe you want to highlight other 3 things, then you write your resume according to that way. Yeah. When I read this resume, I didn't see too much things about process improvement. I agree with you.
Yeah, to that connecting that point, I think the internship that they did was actually kind of relevant to what they're applying for. So I think they could have highlighted those skills a little bit better. Like I think they could have added a little bit more detail in the internship. So maybe removed a little bit or like condensed the research part.
Yeah. There are actually multiple areas where you can highlight those relevant skills, right? Professional summary, technical expertise area, and in each of the bulletin points under your work and research experience. So multiple ways you want to reinforce your information, reinforce your message. Yeah.
This CV, I think, fits for the oncology positions because almost a decade of experience in the oncology, whereas the position you have shown that's the GMP and process development. That's completely different.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly, right? What are some of the keywords you want to mention first? And here, okay, PhD, scientist, 9 years research experience, those are all relevant. But this is more about oncology. And the job description is more about rare disease. And oncology, I mean, maybe there is some overlap, but there could be other ways you can highlight. And also here in the professional summary, it looks like you emphasized, it's good that you said you have expertise in assay development, which is very much needed for this job. But I kind of see a lot of information about 3D organoids in many different places in the professional summary, in the technical expertise, and in other research and work experience. So you need to ask yourself, do I have to highlight these skills? Even though maybe you spend 95% of your PhD time on this skill. Yeah, again, it's not from your own perspective. It's from the hiring manager's perspective. Yeah. And some other comments here. For the technical expertise, you listed 6 different categories, which in some cases is good, but you can consolidate a little bit so that the signals is very obvious. If I were you, I probably will highlight, kind of combine, for example, molecular and cellular assay in one category. And then list all of your molecular skills, cellular skills, and assay skills. And not mention too much some other skills that are not so relevant, unless you believe it can be used by this job, such as, for example, 3D spheroid generation, things like that. again, provide relevant information to the hiring manager. Yeah, the second skill you can highlight is maybe related to data and image and other core skills and competencies. Okay, we can talk a lot about this, but we don't have that much time, so we'll move forward. But thank you for sharing this example. I hope this exercise is helpful for you, and with your own resume, keep asking yourself this type of question. What are the top things I want to highlight? Is this clear to the hiring manager? You can invite your professor, your peers to take a look. Sometimes a second person really give a lot of insight. And I just want to share again, we're not going to talk about it, but you will have it in your slide. This is my resume when I apply for my current job. And I am having a STEM background. I'm doing basically a HAS type of job. So you can see how I tailor my experience. I really, not to mention, even though I had like maybe more than 10 years experience in those categories, like 15 years in those areas, but I made it very concise and short. I kind of highlighted more about my leadership and volunteering experience, which I think are more relevant to this job. Okay, so now we are going to have a quick demo for a very important tool that you have free access. It's called VMock. And Kyle, please.
All right, so while I pull this up, who here knows what an applicant tracking system is? Nobody? Okay, then I'm going to have to basically try to do double duty here. So, an applicant tracking system is basically an AI program that provides an overview or a basic review of resumes. It is an automated process. It scans a resume and it gives it either like a score or just an overall analysis of how well the resume does when compared to a job description. Most companies are using these days, especially if you're talking about larger companies, which means that a human being is not the first person to see your resume in a lot of cases now. That creates some kind of incentives with this. And what it means is that you have to be very careful about prioritizing the kinds of things that these programs are looking for. And keyword matching is one of the big ones. We talked about that. It can be a little bit difficult to do all of that detail on your own, especially with more complex kinds of jobs. So VMock is a platform we have access to here at WashU, which for some reason it does not want me to pull up on this screen. So that's fascinating. There we go. So if you just Google WashU VMock, you're going to pull up this page here. You're going to be able to click on it and you'll go to this spot right here. And this will provide you with access. You can log in as a current student. Now, are there any postdocs in the room? Okay. You all are not technically students, you're staff, which means you have to email me in order to get access to this platform. So please send me an email. I'll get your information. We'll make sure that you get access on this. I don't know that we have really good enough time to do like a proper kind of demonstration on this. It's relatively straightforward. There's a lot of functionality of the platform. Basically, you upload a PDF copy of your resume, and then the platform can do two things. It can give you an overall review of your resume, just based off of like good resume practice. And then you can copy and paste in a job description, and it will provide you with specific advice for that job. Concrete recommendations, like here's the words you hit, here's the words you didn't hit, here's formatting stuff that looks good, here's formatting stuff that doesn't look good, all kinds of things like that. It will give you a score in both cases, a score from like 0 to 100. Don't pay too close attention to that. It's not the most important part of it. You just want to try to check on it. You want to see like how much stuff am I hitting and how much stuff am I missing. And it also will give you access to some resume templates. If you're having trouble figuring out how you want to lay out your resume, it has a few suggested options that you can kind of plug in the content. It will format it for you, and then you can download it, and you have a kind of nice copy of your resume on there. If you don't, that's fine too. You can input your changes into your resume manually. All right. So again, don't want to really.
Log in quickly show. No? Okay. Yeah. And if you have trouble to use this software, feel free to email us or book a coaching appointment with us. It's a software that we started to use recently. As I said, it's free for WashU students and postdoc. You can also have access. It's kind of powerful, makes the formatting much easier. It will give you recommendation. What have you done well and what are the areas you need to improve? And we highly recommend you, for example, to run through your resume in VMock before you see a coaching appointment, before you see a coach. This way, we can really, don't need to talk about some of the basic stuff, and we can really make the best out of our coaching appointment. So for additional support, okay, yeah, again, I believe as part of the job application or fellowship application process, your application materials is most important. And if you need other more tailored support, feel free to book a coaching appointment with us. Just follow our newsletter. You will see how to book a coaching appointment. And if you don't see our availability in the next 2 weeks, for example, you can always come to our drop-in hour, which is every Friday on 12 to 1, and Kai or me will be there to help you. And here we also recommend some of the AI resume tools. If you don't want to use VMock, again, it's free for everybody. I personally used this to build my resume to apply for my current job. If you download a lot of times, they may charge you, but if you download a few times, it's free. We have more written information in our website as well. So how to write a cover letter. Here, this is also a part I'm very passionate about because I coached many students and their cover letter is a little plain. And again, we are talking about how to make your cover letter stand out in front of the hiring manager. So here are some of the key points. It's basically an expanded version of your professional summary. And there, you again use it as a case to explain why I'm the best hire. And right from the hiring manager perspective, again, decode the job description to see what are the top 3 things they are looking for. What are the top 3 things I happen to have as well, and make it so obvious to them. Instead of just say, I did my undergraduate and then graduate and then postdoc, really make it clear. I have all those qualifications you are looking for. I'll give you some examples. Again, we talked about you really need to know more about this job by doing research, by networking. And every one of us have our unique style. And now with AI, sometimes the cover letter will look more or less the same good. So I really encourage you to write from your own heart and really think what are the things you want to highlight. So in terms of the template for cover letter, you of course have your header, greetings, dear hiring manager, dear hiring committee or hiring team, or if you know that person, dear this person. Your opening paragraph is basically very concise to summarize who you are and your key features. And then you will have your middle 2 or 3 paragraphs to clearly explain why I'm the best fit, and then back up with evidence, and then closing to not only to tell why I am a good fit for you, but also you are a good fit to me, why I'm interested in this opportunity. And then if you are willing to, you can contact me, so on and so forth. So here are some examples. This is for a PhD student to apply for MasterCard, a data scientist position. And you can see the first paragraph, who he is. I'm eager to some of key features, quantitative problem-solving skills to help MasterCard and especially through the following competencies, and then middle 3 paragraphs. And it's so clear that even though the hiring manager is going to only spend 10 seconds, they will immediately know you are going to highlight your data analysis and modeling skill, your programming and data tool skill, and your communication and collaboration skill. So they are not going to miss it. And then if you hooked the hiring manager this way, then they are going to read more. Okay, what do you mean by data analysis and modeling? What experience did you have? What are some of your accomplishments? So if you write this way, it's very clear, straightforward, to the point. And this is another example. Again, it's my own example. When I applied to this job, I basically say I want to apply this role. I learned about this role from a referral who worked in this organization. So bring this to their attention, so they are not going to miss it. And then I am thrilled about this role because of my experience, values, and professional aspiration. And I believe I'm a best fit for this role because of the following reasons: 1, 2, 3. And then after the 3 statements, back up with evidence. What do I mean? I have a deep understanding and a commitment to PhD and postdoc development. It's your evidence. It's writing an essay, it's writing an argument. So those are the kind of framework and philosophy we want to share with you. Any questions on cover letter?
Lengthwise I'm assuming this is a little bit more important than like the rest of it. So like you mentioned like it could end up being like 3 or 4 paragraphs, but like we still want to keep that within like 1 page.
1 page, yeah.
Is it common to like section it up? Because all the cover letters I've written so far have all been like just like a letter, literally, like no sections, just like paragraphs. But I noticed in that example we did have different sections.
That's kind of the traditional way. But here, nowadays, every day we receive so much information, especially if you are facing an international hiring manager. I'm not going to extract any information by reading this 1 page. You have, highlight the key information you want them to know. So within 10 seconds, they are going to get your major points. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Okay. Now we are going to move forward. One last section here. Again, as I told you, we have a very packed agenda. So thank you for your engagement. Last part is about the strategy to build a better resume and CV and a better career. How many of you are in the job search process right now? Okay, so maybe half or a little bit more than half. Even though you are in the job search process, you are going to have your second job, third job down the road. So here, my recommendation is really to think forward, to see what you can do to prepare a better resume and CV down the road. Many of the students, postdocs, came to see us just to help format and to do the rewarding for the resume and CV. And we can still help, and we can help this much, but also more importantly is we want to show you how you can intentionally create more experience so that you can add this content to your resume even before. And this is important for first year, second year PhD and postdoc, and also for you as well as you think about your future career. And that is also very important to understand, what you really want to pursue. So very briefly here, often students who came to see us, their resume kind of are more or less the same. Their education, their skills, lab skills or research skills, and 2 or 3 research experience from undergraduate to PhD or postdoc. And then some other experiences, maybe 1 TA and some conference they go and they want 2 awards. And this is hard for them to stand out. So that's why we really want to emphasize before you have time, really be intentional to create more experience and content for your resume. Maybe you can think of doing additional research projects. You have your main project, but then you can do a side project. You can also have collaborative project where you only need to do a small part, but you can become a co-author for that paper or for that project where you can include in your resume. And it's very nice looking for industry people because they emphasize a lot on collaboration. And you can do some internship or experiential learning opportunity. Now, my team is managing PWIT 3 and 4. If you are in your 3rd year, 4th year, or 5th year, you're welcome to apply to that. This year we closed that window already, but in future years, pay attention to our newsletter. Or Scandara's summer internship, I think they are still looking for applications, or doing an internship in a company, or really find collaborations. Get some part-time or job experience, be intentional. And pay attention to professional and leadership development opportunities. Become a student or leader in some organization, sit in the advisory board, go to some of the programming, get to know them, and you will find more opportunities that you can develop yourself professionally. Get some skills, certifications. And here are some of the things I really recommend, dependent on your interest. I know those skills and certifications are very well appreciated in industry. For example, data analysis skills, your project management skills, PMP certification, your patent or intellectual property skills, IP, AI nowadays, very important, or some leadership certification. So those are just a few. So this is to talk about how you can build your experience. And in order to know what experience we want to build, we need to also know what we want to do with our life, right? I encourage us to think more about it. I know it's a hard question, but learn to live a purpose life can really help us to have a goal and then develop a plan to achieve that. Just like Steve said, you're going to spend a lot of time at your work. So really work on something that you truly love. And that's why, so here is an important mindset I always share with you, is start with the end in mind, even though that end is not very clear, but more or less if you have a rough idea, then you can work backwards to see what you need to do. And that's why in our foundational workshop series, we talked about how to envision different career possibilities, identify a goal. And then we talked about how to develop actionable planning, how to develop SMART goals, and then how to later you will see, okay, there are so many things I need to do, research-wise, professional development-wise. How am I going to manage my time, manage my projects? So that's why we also have a workshop called Maximize Productivity, Time and Project Management. If you have attended those, that's great. If not, we have recordings, which is in our website. So encourage you to listen to that. Those are really summarized from our 10 years experience in industry and 10 years work experience in academia. So here, just for PhD and postdoc, as I said, maybe traditionally for most PhDs or postdocs in their first 5 years, they may just have the things that are black highlighted on the top. But if you really know your goal, then you can be more intentional and build more experience in each of the years so that you can include in your resume and CV. So the core message I always share with you all is be proactive in your career and professional development. So spend 10 to 20% of your time on that. And that is very important. So with that, we'll stop. We have about 10 minutes for Q&A.